Alright, I'll attempt to do this relatively quickly. I have a feeling that I could ramble about this for a while, but I will attempt not to. For a while now I've had both of these tractors. I think I've had my D130 06 for a little bit longer than I have this one, but I don't know how much longer, but anyway. I by no means claim to be an expert or a know-all or know a whole lot about Deutz, the history of Deutz, or even these tractors specifically, but I think that I know more than maybe most people do. So I'll try to share some of that knowledge. I guess we'll start out with some of the similarities between the both of them. If you guys aren't aware, so the 06 series, these series tractors have the 912 series engine in them. You can go up to the sides of the tractors. You can look. My lighting isn't great. Maybe you can make that out. That is a BF6L912 on this D130 06. So that's a code. B means turbocharged, so it does have a turbocharger. F is for vehicle use. BF6 6-cylinder. L is inline, and then 912. I believe I've heard two conflicting theories. The 9 is the bore in centimeters, and the 12 is the stroke in centimeters of the engine. And then I've also heard that the 12 is just a series of the engine, but I honestly think that both of those things are true, but I'm willing to be wrong on that. Whereas on this D45, I'll wipe some of the crud away. It is an F3L912. So there's no B on it. It is not turbocharged, but it is an F3 3-cylinder 912. One of the things, I guess let's just get this out of the way. Also something that I'm willing to be wrong on. I am one for commonality. I like having tractors, equipment, trucks, anything that has some commonality for parts interchangeability. Oil filters, water pumps, injectors, those kinds of things. I was really hoping that between the D45 and the D106 or the D130 06, the engines would basically be the same, and maybe they are more than I think, but at least whenever I look back through my parts manuals, the jugs, the cylinders for each of the engines have different part numbers, so I don't think that there's as much commonality for the internals of the engine as maybe as I was hoping for, but again, I'm willing to be wrong. Maybe some of the other similarities. Injection system, so both of these tractors are diesels. That is a Bosch inline pump. I believe it's considered an A pump, 3-cylinder. This D130 has again a Bosch inline pump, 6-cylinder, so it's basically just double the size. Again, I think that is considered an A pump, but it looks almost identical to like what you would find on a P pump on a little 12-valve Cummins or something like that. One thing that I think is interesting, I don't have any on-hand personal experience with like the D60, any of the D60s, 70s, 80, 90, D90 06s, but I believe, so a D30 06 is a 2-cylinder, a D40 and a 45 is a 3-cylinder. You start getting up into the 60, 70, 80, and the 90, I believe all those are 4-cylinders. The D100 So there is a D100 versus this is a D130 06. I always assumed that the only difference between the D100 and the D130 06 is just a turbocharger. However, I at least know from just perusing the internet and looking at pictures and on Tractor House and that types of environments, the D100s are a 6-cylinder, but they come with a rotary pump. I don't know why. I've always thought that's interesting. So if any of yins know, I'd be curious. Drop that down in the comments. Yeah, so 6-cylinder, inline pump, turbocharged. Maybe on the operations side, the tractors are basically identical. So I'll hop up here on the platform. So on this D45, so as normal, you got each pedal, you got 2 brakes that you can work individually. It does have a foot throttle. I really like that about this tractor. I have back behind my baler, I can't see it. I've got 2 Ford 3600s, 77 and a 78. I will say that I consistently find myself using this tractor more. I think it's a little bit smaller wheelbase. It's a little bit more nimble. I don't know. I feel like this one is a little bit more usable. But honestly, that just having that foot throttle might be some of it. That's a lot nicer than I give it credit for, maybe. Moving on. Parking brake is here on the right hand side. Just pull it back and it clicks down on that rail. And then to release it, put a little bit of pressure back, push the button, and then work it forward. Parking brake does work on this tractor. Whenever I got it, it did not. I actually had to put a new drum on it. That's kind of interesting. If I remember it, I'll show it after a while, the way the parking brake works. You got your hand throttle. This is for some lights that don't function anymore, warning lights. I actually put some LEDs on this tractor. Those all work, and I just popped a couple holes. Over here on the right hand side, you got your position control for your 3-point on the back, and then that is the control lever for the hydraulics. This tractor does have hydraulics on the back of it. That's honestly one of the main reasons that I wound up with this instead of that tractor. That tractor's been sitting there a while, but I've got a video on that. I think it's actually on this tractor for maintenance. But PTO over here on this side, I've got a video on that I actually just published. So operating the clutch on the PTO and then engaging and disengaging the gears on the inside. Here's where the big difference between this tractor and that tractor come into play is the transmission. So this transmission is we call it 4 forward and 1 reverse for each range. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then all the way over and back is reverse, just like a diagram shows. But it's got a high and a low, so it's super critical that the tractor is at a complete stop. That's high range, and then push it forward, that's low range. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4 reverse and low, pop it back in high, and then you got a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, 6, 7, 8, however you want to look at it. So the tractor has got 8 forward and 2 reverse gears. What else do I want to say? When I got this tractor, it had a rebuilt injection pump on it. So I know I've showed it a couple times already, but that injection pump, if I had better lighting, it's got a fresh coat of paint on it. It just got rebuilt by somebody. Depending on where you look, this tractor's either got 40 or 45 horse, supposed to be. I honestly think that whenever somebody redid that pump, they turned it up, because this thing has got plenty of power. It definitely has more power than both of my, I'll come over here. It definitely has more power than both of my 3600s, whether that's placebo or somebody actually turned it up, but I think it's got more than 45 horse. I'd love to put it on a dyno. Coming over here to my D130. So very, very similar. clutch, brakes, foot throttle. This one's got 2 hydraulics on the back of it, 2 hydraulic remotes, so controls for both of those. Position for the 3-point. Parking brake on this one is a little different. It's got a T handle down here. So turn it, you hear it clicking. Those are notches to engage it. So that's the parking brake set, and then to disengage it, you pull up, twist, and then release back down. The way that parking brake works, it actually actuates the right hand side of the brakes, so it is actually engaging the brakes, whereas that one is a different setup. The transmission on this one, so I have me printed out a little 3D printed shift knob. So just drew that up and printed it out. I still have yet to actually secure it, but it works. Transmission on this tractor. So on the right hand stick you got gears 1 through 6 in the standard pattern. The small stick over here, you can't see it great right now, but so it's a little odd. All the way left and forward, this is reverse, that's neutral, that's low, and that's low. So all the way left and down is low, all the way right and up is low. They're both the same low range, and then that's high. It's a little confusing. I still don't know why that's like that, but it is what it is, I guess. This is not like a bigger truck transmission where you put it in low range and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, high range 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Most of the time, whenever I don't have anything on me and I'm just taking off on the road, I'll start in low 4th, I'll shift to low 5th, low 6th, and then I'll pop it into high 6th. Low 4, 5, 6, and then high 6. So it gives you like 1 extra gear. And then whenever I'm baling with my round baler, most of the time I am either in low 3, high 3, or low 4. So that high 3 really splits the low 3 and the low 4. This tractor does have creeper transmission, that little knob right down here. And the only other difference, PTO works the same way, but the only other difference, this tractor is 4-wheel drive, so that just engages a clutch pack down underneath the floorboard to disengage and engage your 4-wheel drive. Back to what I was doing. I think as far as each of the tractors, my biggest complaint, at least on the D130, it's fairly common that all of the D130s came with 1,000 RPM only on the PTO. So it's the 1 3/8 21 spline, 1,000 RPM. The numbers that I have seen was roughly 10 to 15% of these tractors, the D130s, came with dual option, so you could do 540 or 1,000, but the vast majority of them, at least over here in the States, they are 1,000 RPM only. So it's not a deal breaker necessarily for me, but it certainly limits what I can use the tractor for. I've been told that there is some modifications that you can do to the tractor, not necessarily, you know, replace the whole transmission and the whole rear end, but go through some side access covers in the side of the transmission, and you can swap out some shafts and you can make it dual speed PTO. I'm super interested in trying to pursue that at some point. I would love to do that, because that'll open up being able to use this tractor for more things. But I think that's probably the biggest thing on this tractor is that PTO. This tractor, on the other hand, my biggest gripe on it is it's a little cumbersome to get up and down out of, with the fender the way that it is, with this leg coming down here. I mean, that you can see my hand is touching the fender and the clutch pedal, so it's pretty tight getting up and down. especially if you got a little bit of a belly sticking out. Getting around that steering wheel is a little bit odd. However, once you're up in it, it's comfortable. You can sit there all day long. It's a comfortable tractor. Yeah, it's definitely a little awkward getting up and down out of. Back to some more of the similarities and differences. Let me try to think. The hydraulic system, fly trap. The hydraulic system, and I guess more specifically the power steering system on these tractors, is slightly different. On this tractor, it's got, you're probably not going to be able to see it. There's your hydraulic pump right down here. I'm going to have to go get a flashlight. It's got one hydraulic pump, feeds the whole system, and the power steering system works off of that main hydraulic. In a very similar way that the older Fords do. Still has a mechanical steering box that just uses high pressure hydraulic oil as an assist. On the D130, however, now I got me a flashlight. Haha! So everything on their rear end, the rear hydraulic remotes, the 3-point arms, which I've got taken off right now because this is a baling tractor and I don't use them. They all run off of a common system, just like the other one that I just showed you. However, it has 2 hydraulic pumps. So that front hydraulic pump is the main system, the main hydraulic system. That back pump is actually a power steering pump. So the power steering has its own pump, has its own oil, goes up to, go to the other side. It's got a hydraulic cylinder up there, and that's its power steering. So it's different, completely different system. One other big difference is the brakes on the D130. On the side of the pedals over here, you got a brake master cylinder down below. On this tractor specifically, I've got a video on it, replacing the OEM part with an aftermarket master cylinder kit. They've worked okay, but I guess where I'm going with this is it's a hydraulic reservoir, normal hydraulic brakes, and then the brakes are inside of the final drives, inside of the axle tubes. So they're all internal parts, whereas, and I've got a video on it as well, the brakes on the D45 are external to the axle. They're the old school drum style brakes. So just take the tire off and you can service 100% of the brake system, which is nice. You can debate back and forth on wet brakes versus dry brakes, but as far as everything that I've messed with, I prefer the simple external brakes. You don't have to mess with anything. Taking an axle out, taking the tube out, nothing that way, but I digress. I think that's about it, outside of any of the obvious size, horsepower, any of those questions. But I think I hit at least all of the major ones that I've seen as far as similarities and differences. But yeah, thanks for watching.